When the world thought Pakistan would remain a follower in air power, it began rewriting the rules of modern warfare with its next-generation jet doctrine. Pakistan's shift toward indigenous development in its next-generation jet doctrine is a transformation that has caught the keen eye of Western defense analysts because it represents more than just a technical upgrade. It signals a deeper strategic and political recalibration. For decades, Pakistan's air power was heavily dependent on foreign suppliers, primarily the United States and China, with occasional acquisitions or upgrades facilitated by European powers. This reliance placed constraints on Pakistan's strategic autonomy, as foreign policy shifts, sanctions, and international pressures often limited access to cutting-edge technology. However, the current direction highlights a deliberate effort to free Pakistan from the vulnerabilities of dependency by investing in indigenous research, development, and production. The JF-17 Thunder program stands as a symbolic cornerstone of this strategy. Initially developed in collaboration with China, the aircraft has matured into a platform that Pakistan is increasingly customizing and upgrading on its own terms. The Block 3 variant, with its advanced radar systems, electronic warfare capabilities, and compatibility with long-range missiles, is a powerful testament to how Pakistan is not merely assembling parts, but is genuinely enhancing its technological sovereignty. The broader vision of Project AZM, which is aimed at developing a fifth-generation stealth fighter, further underscores this ambition. Although details remain classified, even the announcement of such a project signals intent. Pakistan wants to leap beyond incremental improvements and carve a place for itself in the small but significant group of nations pursuing stealth and next-gen platforms. Western defense analysts are not only assessing the aircraft itself, but also the mindset that this pursuit represents. A nation once restrained by external dependencies, now seeking self-reliance in one of the most technologically demanding domains of modern warfare. This shift is also economic and industrial in nature. By investing in domestic production capabilities, Pakistan is stimulating its defense industry, creating jobs and developing technical expertise that can spill over into civilian sectors. More importantly, it ensures that during times of crisis or conflict, the country is not paralyzed by the whims of external suppliers. Indigenous development brings with it the assurance that spare parts, upgrades, and modifications can be sourced from within, allowing for faster adaptability to emerging threats. For Western observers, this evolution represents both a challenge and a concern. On one hand, it complicates efforts to use defense exports or sanctions as levers of influence over Islamabad. On the other hand, it raises questions about technology transfer and how much of the innovation is being driven internally versus borrowed from strategic partners like China. The optics are just as important as the technology itself, because even if Pakistan has not yet achieved full self-reliance, the perception of progress strengthens its bargaining position on the global stage. This shift reflects a changing doctrine in which Pakistan no longer views itself as a secondary power dependent on hand-me-downs, but as an ambitious actor seeking to keep pace with or even outmaneuver its regional rival India. Western analysts understand that indigenous development is not just about building planes. It is about rewriting the narrative of strategic dependence into one of autonomy and resilience, and that is precisely why they are watching this transformation so closely. The integration of advanced technologies into Pakistan's next-generation jet doctrine is one of the most decisive reasons Western defense analysts are monitoring developments so closely, because it reflects not only a tactical upgrade, but also a redefinition of what the country's air power can achieve in both defensive and offensive terms. Modern warfare is not simply about the number of aircraft in the fleet, but about the quality of systems embedded within those platforms and their ability to dominate across multiple domains. Pakistan's emphasis on equipping its jets with active electronically scanned array (AESA) radars, beyond visual range (BVR) missile systems, and stealth-enhancing technologies represents a deliberate leap into realms previously dominated by advanced Western air forces. The JF-17 Block 3 is a striking example, incorporating AESA radar capability that allows pilots to detect, track, and engage multiple targets at greater ranges with significantly reduced vulnerability to enemy jamming and countermeasures. For a country that has historically operated under the constraints of older radar systems, this represents a major doctrinal advancement, as it places Pakistan closer to parity with regional and global powers in terms of situational awareness and target acquisition. Coupled with BVR missiles such as the PL-15, which boasts ranges that rival or exceed many Western equivalents, Pakistan's doctrine emphasizes the ability to strike before the adversary even comes within visual range, reducing reliance on traditional dogfighting and maximizing survivability. In addition, there is a visible push towards stealth-conscious design, where reduced radar cross-section and improved aerodynamics make detection by enemy systems more difficult. Even if Pakistan has not fully achieved the kind of stealth capabilities seen in American F-35s or Chinese J-20s, its doctrinal emphasis on integrating stealth-related features signals an understanding that survivability in modern aerial combat depends on avoiding detection altogether. Beyond hardware, Pakistan's doctrine is increasingly linked to software and electronic systems, including advanced electronic warfare suites and artificial intelligence-assisted avionics. These allow pilots to process vast amounts of battlefield data more efficiently, while simultaneously disrupting the enemy's sensors and communications. This highlights a move toward electronic dominance, where battles are decided not just by firepower, but by who controls the flow of information. Western analysts are also attentive to Pakistan's embrace of data link systems and network-centric capabilities, which enable seamless communication between aircraft, ground stations, and other assets. When an aircraft is part of a larger integrated system rather than operating in isolation, its lethality multiplies because decisions can be made faster and with greater precision. Analysts note that this technological direction mirrors that of advanced Western doctrines, where the emphasis is on connectivity, integration, and battlefield awareness rather than brute force. The concern lies not only in the fact that Pakistan is adopting these technologies, but also in the speed with which it is doing so, despite economic and industrial limitations. This suggests that Pakistan is leveraging partnerships, particularly with China, to rapidly assimilate technologies that would otherwise take decades to develop indigenously. For Western defense communities, the implication is clear. Pakistan is no longer constrained to fighting with outdated equipment or conventional strategies, but is moving toward a modernized air force capable of contesting technologically superior adversaries. This changes the calculus for both regional security and Western defense planning, because it means that Western-designed strategies that assumed Pakistan's technological inferiority may no longer hold true. The integration of advanced technologies demonstrates intent, ambition, and an awareness of modern warfare realities, and this doctrinal evolution is precisely why it has become a point of close observation for those assessing the balance of power in South Asia. Pakistan's pursuit of strategic partnerships and diversification in its next-generation jet doctrine is a development that Western defense analysts are tracking carefully, because it signifies a deliberate attempt to break free from historical dependence and expand the horizons of its defense ecosystem. For much of its history, Pakistan's defense partnerships were defined by reliance on a single major supplier, most notably the United States during the Cold War. This dependency created a predictable vulnerability. Whenever Washington's political priorities shifted, Islamabad found itself restricted, sanctioned, or deprived of critical equipment and spare parts. The memory of these limitations has deeply shaped Pakistan's strategic thinking, pushing it toward partnerships that not only ensure a steady flow of technology, but also reduce the risks of overdependence on one country. In this new context, China has emerged as the most important partner, with collaborations that go far beyond simple arms sales. Joint projects like the JF-17 Thunder and future ventures such as Project AZM demonstrate how the partnership has evolved into co-development, giving Pakistan not only access to technology, but also opportunities to learn, adapt, and eventually innovate on its own. However, what alarms Western defense analysts is not just the depth of Pakistan's collaboration with China, but the fact that Islamabad is actively seeking to diversify beyond a single patron. China may be the core partner, but Pakistan is also exploring opportunities with Turkey, Russia, and other nations willing to engage in defense cooperation outside the Western sphere. For instance, Turkey's rising defense industry has become an attractive option, with discussions around drones, avionics, and even potential involvement in next-gen fighter programs, creating new pathways for technological exchange. Russia, while cautious due to its ties with India, has nonetheless shown openness to limited cooperation, especially in areas like helicopters and air defense systems. By spreading its partnerships across multiple nations, Pakistan is insulating itself from the dangers of being cut off by one supplier, creating a web of defense ties that complicates Western strategies of containment and pressure. This diversification is also geopolitical in nature. Each partnership gives Pakistan leverage in different arenas. With China, it gains access to cutting-edge platforms, missile technology, and strategic cover against India. With Turkey, it benefits from collaboration rooted in shared political sympathies and mutual aspirations for technological independence. With Russia, even limited cooperation signals to the West that Islamabad has alternatives, making it harder to isolate the country diplomatically. This web of partnerships also strengthens Pakistan's bargaining power, as it can pit suppliers against each other to negotiate better terms or accelerate technology transfer. The result is a more resilient defense posture that is not easily disrupted by sanctions or diplomatic shifts. Western analysts are particularly concerned about the long-term implications of this diversification. If Pakistan succeeds in establishing multiple reliable channels of defense cooperation, it will no longer be vulnerable to the kind of leverage that Western nations have historically enjoyed. Moreover, the partnerships often include not just technology transfer, but training, joint exercises, and doctrinal exchanges that help Pakistan modernize its operational thinking. The blend of Chinese hardware, Turkish innovation, and possibly Russian inputs creates a hybrid model of defense development that is less predictable and more difficult for Western militaries to counter. For analysts, the key issue is not only the hardware itself, but the evolving network of alliances that underpin Pakistan's doctrine. Pakistan's doctrinal shift to network-centric warfare is a central element of its next-generation jet strategy, and it is this evolution in thinking that has Western defense analysts paying such close attention. Traditional air combat was often defined by the capability of the aircraft itself and the skills of the pilot in the cockpit, with success measured by maneuverability, firepower, and endurance. But the modern battlefield has transformed into a domain where information superiority, connectivity, and the ability to integrate multiple platforms into a single cohesive fighting network determine the outcome. Pakistan's recognition of this reality and its subsequent effort to embed it into its doctrine represents a substantial step forward, one that signals an understanding of warfare on par with advanced military powers. Instead of viewing fighter jets as isolated tools, Pakistan is increasingly conceptualizing them as nodes in a broader system of real-time information sharing, command integration, and multi-domain coordination. The essence of network-centric warfare lies in its ability to merge various elements: fighters, drones, ground-based radars, missile defense systems, and command centers into a unified framework where data flows seamlessly. This ensures that each platform does not act independently, but rather contributes to a shared situational picture, allowing faster decision-making and coordinated responses. Pakistan has already demonstrated this approach by pairing its JF-17 Block 3 fighters with data link technology that enables them to exchange information with ground stations and other aircraft. Electronic warfare and cyber components further enhance this network-centric vision. By investing in jamming systems, signal interception, and electronic countermeasures, Pakistan is moving toward a battlefield environment where disrupting the enemy's communications and sensors can be just as decisive as physically destroying their aircraft. This aligns with modern doctrines that prioritize disabling the adversary's ability to fight rather than engaging in prolonged direct battles. Coupled with artificial intelligence-driven avionics and decision support systems, Pakistan's jets are being positioned not merely as flying weapons platforms, but as intelligent assets capable of filtering complex battlefield data into actionable insights in real time. For Western defense analysts, this signals an understanding of modern air power's true essence: that wars are increasingly won by those who can dominate the electromagnetic spectrum and the information domain. Another key aspect is Pakistan's exploration of drone integration into this networked environment. The use of unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, as surveillance, reconnaissance, and even strike assets provides a layer of depth and resilience to the doctrine. By networking drones with manned fighters and command systems, Pakistan ensures that its human pilots are supported by extended sensors and additional firepower, increasing survivability and operational reach. Ultimately, the concern for Western defense communities is not only the technology, but also the mindset. Pakistan is demonstrating that it is thinking about air power in the same way as advanced militaries, moving beyond outdated dogfighting doctrines and into a future where information warfare, electronic dominance, and integrated systems define success. This evolution makes it harder to dismiss Pakistan as a technologically inferior force, and it forces Western analysts to reconsider how South Asian air warfare might unfold in the coming years if Pakistan's network-centric vision continues to mature. Pakistan's next-generation jet doctrine is transforming deterrence in South Asia by bridging the gap between nuclear reliance and conventional capability. For decades, Pakistan depended on its nuclear arsenal to counter India's larger conventional forces, but now it is developing advanced air power that strengthens its defensive credibility without immediate escalation. This shift is critical for stability because it signals that Pakistan can contest conventional conflicts while maintaining strategic restraint, making deterrence more flexible and robust. The balance of power in the region is being reshaped as Pakistan prioritizes quality over quantity in its air force. India's numerical advantage is challenged by Pakistan's adoption of advanced radars, stealth-conscious designs, long-range missiles, and electronic warfare systems. These advancements allow Pakistan to reduce India's edge and create a more level playing field in aerial combat. For Western defense analysts, this evolution is significant because it introduces uncertainty into conflict planning, where India's presumed dominance is no longer guaranteed. Western influence in South Asia is also being tested as Pakistan diversifies its defense partnerships. By relying less on American F-16s and turning to China, Turkey, and potentially Russia, Pakistan is reducing Western leverage. This independence is not just about aircraft procurement, but also about securing steady technological transfer and political cover against sanctions. Analysts in the West are particularly concerned because this diversification erodes their ability to shape Islamabad's defense decisions. Psychological deterrence is another critical layer of the doctrine. By unveiling projects like Project AZM and showcasing the capabilities of the JF-17 Block 3, Pakistan is sending a message of strength and resilience. This perception shapes the calculations of adversaries as the cost of miscalculation appears higher. By modernizing its air doctrine and demonstrating strategic independence, Pakistan is asserting itself as more than just a regional actor. It is presenting itself as a key pivot in a shifting global order, one that Western analysts can no longer afford to ignore. Pakistan's next-generation jet doctrine is no longer just about aircraft. It is about redefining power, deterrence, and autonomy in South Asia.